All right, welcome in. Monday Fun Day here. Opening line report, WagerTalk TV. Joe Ranieri in for Drew Martin alongside the one and only Mr. Teddy Covers in the house. And we are here to talk about some season win totals. Now that we got all of that riffraff out of the way, Teddy, all that preseason junk there, that is gone. Now we got to focus on what is ahead of us. But the big question for me to you is, did we learn anything in the preseason that would change your mind one way or the other on what we're about to talk about today?
Not much. That being said, There are a handful of teams that we did learn something from in preseason that we will talk about today. Obviously, we have two shows between now and opening day. Today, I thought we'd talk about season wins. On next Monday's show, we will talk about the week one numbers. I want it to be a true traditional opening line report. We'll do that format all season long. But this show, in between the end of the preseason and the beginning of week one, I thought it was a good time to take a look at what's been going on in the season win total betting marketplace and talk about the basic market reactions to what we've seen this August between these squads. So should be a fun show. Obviously, when it comes to win totals, it's something I've been pretty good at over the years. 100 wins, 50 losses, 3 pushes over the last 23 seasons. My first win report for the NFL came out in 2001, and the win report's been up. You can still get it right now, WagerTalk.com. You can get the best bet, the 5% big ticket, 16-4, 80% over the life of the report. So it's something I put a lot of time into over the summer. It's something we've talked about a lot over the years, and it's something that I expect to make a profit again in 2024. So let's talk about where the markets are moving with these NFL totals. A handful of teams, again, have seen fairly significant moves. Some of them perhaps warranted, others not so much.
Why don't we jump right in? And guys, is one of my favorite publications every year is Teddy's win report. And now would be a good opportunity for you to head over his page at WagerTalk.com. Also, don't forget today, $5 customer appreciation on Monday. If you're watching us live, the opportunity for you to get Teddy's best bet right now on his page in the NFL for just $5 is available to you. And then, of course, if you're watching this on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week, we got a pretty good deal coming up we're going to tell you about that you can hop on board this week. But let's jump into the AFC East. My New York Jets are one of those teams that everyone seems to think all of a sudden is going to win a division, which I find hysterical, Teddy. But why don't we start there and tell me what's the move and what is your overall impression of these teams here? Who should we be focusing on?
So from a season win standpoint, we really haven't seen a lot of movement with two exceptions. I mean, with one exception in this division, we've seen Buffalo under money in the AFC East. That's been pretty consistent. That's come from the get-go. We look at the Bills over the summer, 10.5, the prevailing number. Now it's still 10.5, but you're laying juice to go under with Buffalo, and in many cases, significant juice, minus 150 or in that range to go under with the Bills. So the Bills under has been fairly, if you're going to talk about real moves, Bills under has been a real move. The Jets, 9.5 juice to the over. That's still in the same range. Miami really hasn't moved all that much. New England's an interesting story, because the Patriots, while clearly they're in rebuilding mode, while clearly they were a garbage team last year, defensively, New England has a better defense on paper than most teams that we see normally lined in the 4.5/5 win range. That said, Patriots are the only team at the very bottom of the, if you're ranking the teams by wins, the only team really lined 4.5 wins. Now there's a little bit of juice on the over with New England. So for what that's worth. But we're talking about AFC East in general, the one team that stands out, Buffalo under money has come in for their season win total. Some of that's schedule related, some of that's personnel related, but the Bills under has been a popular choice.
Should be a very interesting division this year for sure, with Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets, and the health of Aaron Rodgers. Fingers crossed there, Teddy. Don't jinx me just yet. All right, let's talk about the AFC North if we can, because this here is another very interesting division with Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Of course, nobody seems to know who the quarterback for Pittsburgh is yet as of Monday. But how do you tackle this from a win spot here, Teddy, with these three teams? Do they just devour one another? How does it work here?
So you can have a division that has every team go over their win total. You can have a division that goes every team under their win total. It happens. It happens more often than you might think, or certainly 3-1s are not unusual either. They're more commonplace than you might think when it comes to season wins. So I'm not necessarily, all right, if I'm playing this team in the division over, I can't play another team in the division over. Or if I'm playing this team under, I can't play another team under. That's not really the case. And that might be like the conventional wisdom. In my opinion, you can find multiple unders, multiple overs in the same division. And when it comes to this division, again, we're talking about where the money is flown, not just this week, but let's just say since the start of the preseason. Certainly, if we go back a little bit further, since these lines have come out, Baltimore under money has been real. There were 11s as the prevailing number early on, juiced to the under. Now it's 10.5. And there are books that are juiced to the under there, 10.5 even money in that range for Baltimore. So we've legitimately seen under money for the Ravens. The rest of the division is really kind of interesting, when it comes to, the Browns have been up and down. I saw some positive signs for Cleveland, but that's a team that a lot of people thought was going to be, at least on paper, perhaps a bet on team. They were 8.5 minus 150 or so at the open. We've seen a little bit of under money come for Cleveland, not a ton, but we've seen a little bit of under money come for Cleveland. The bigger move, Baltimore. When it comes to Pittsburgh, everybody's talking about Pittsburgh. There's a dichotomy in the way people are talking about Pittsburgh. People that like the Steelers keep talking about Mike Tomlin and his track record, and this, you can't bet against that. People that don't like the Steelers talk about how this year's Pittsburgh team is weaker and they're aligned as a sub 500 team for a reason. We look at the broader marketplace. It's still sitting 8.5. Not a dramatic change from where it was. A little bit of juice to the under, which is, again, not a dramatic change from where it was. And since he's been a fairly popular team, but the Bengals, there were enough red flags in the preseason for Cincinnati. We haven't seen any kind of significant over money come in for the Bengals. They've pretty much been a 10.5 win team the whole way, and that hasn't changed right now since he has been a non-factor when it comes to season win total moves over the course of the last month.
Yeah, Steelers have been usually dead money to go over their season win totals for at least the last 4 or 5 years, Teddy. Will that continue this year? I don't know. It depends on who the quarterback is, but Mike Tomlin won't tell us, damn it. All right, so we'll have to wait on the AFC North. Let's head down. We'll go right to the AFC South, another very interesting division, to say the least here, Teddy. A lot of youth, some question marks on some of these teams, and will Jacksonville ever live up to the hype? How do you approach this one from a wins perspective this season?
Let me talk one last thing about the Steelers, because it's worth noting. This is important. All right. If Russell Wilson is the starter and then Russell Wilson gets benched and Justin Fields becomes the starter, from a power rating standpoint, 0 point adjustment. All right. So who wins the quarterback battle isn't going to affect Pittsburgh's week 1 power rating by more than a half a point. Maybe you make a half point adjustment if you want. Some bettors might. But the broader markets, you're not going to see like, Wilson's the starter, they get 3 points better, and Fields the starter, they get 3 points worse. There's not that type of differential between those two quarterbacks, even though in many bettors' minds, there is a huge differential between Wilson and Fields on the field. In 2024, there really isn't. When it comes to the AFC South, and this is kind of an interesting division, because obviously Houston and Jacksonville are the two favorites here. And the Texans have been a popular team from day one. But they were priced like they were going to be a popular team from day one. It wasn't like there were bargains on Houston like there was last year at this time. So from a broader market move perspective, haven't seen it from the Texans. They're still sitting 9.5. And the Jags, just behind them. It's not like Jacksonville is a team that has been thoroughly devalued. They're sitting at 8.5 right now. And in theory, there's probably some value on Jacksonville over their win total, considering that this team's been in contention in recent seasons. They certainly have a quarterback who can make the postseason, and they're making all win now moves. So the Jags over I'm surprised, in a sense, we haven't seen more Jacksonville over money, considering last year, obviously, they fell apart down the stretch, much to my chagrin. We had Jags to win the division a year ago, but that wasn't a right side. Both Indy and Houston were a lot better than I thought they were going to be, and Jacksonville, with the playoffs on the line, couldn't make plays in a whole lot of games. And if that happens again this year, again, they're only lined as a 500 level team. They're not lined as an elite squad, not even close when it comes to the 2024 campaign. We look at the bottom of this division, or maybe not the bottom, it's not the right word, but we look at this division post, the two, well, I guess if we're talking about the two teams at the top, I guess we have to talk about the two teams at the bottom. But it's really interesting because I don't know that Indy deserves to be talked about as, all right, this is the bottom. And this whole division is like, all right, we believe in Houston now, but we don't believe in Jacksonville. It's mediocre. Indy, to me, is a fascinating team. And they haven't really, from a season win standpoint, they really haven't moved a whole lot. I mean, it's in the line as a 500 team going in to the preseason. They're still lined as a 500 team coming out, literally right at 8.5 for Indy. A lot of the issues with the Colts or the market uncertainty with the Colts, there are very differing opinions about what kind of quarterback Anthony Richardson is going to look like this season. If Anthony Richardson is going to be bet on or bet against. And the market's split in that regard. There are people that like Richardson a lot. There are people that expect him to be mediocre at best. And that's driving the two-way action on the Indianapolis Colts. And then when it comes to the bottom of the division, obviously Tennessee is a team that was projected to be a bottom feeder this year. They've looked okay in the preseason in the sense of maybe not as bad as people thought they were going to. But it's not like the Titans are a squad where there's all of this money coming in on Tennessee. Over 6.5 was the prevailing number. And right now, when we look at the Tennessee Titans, we're looking again at 6.5s. Pretty much hasn't moved a whole lot. A little bit of over money, but nothing to write home about.
Still some question marks in there. Teddy, are you one of these believers where quarterback second year, a year of tape, defensive coordinators, it's a step back? Are you worried about Stroud at all this year?
Yes, a little. A little.
Okay.
Not a lot, but a little. I mean, I don't expect Stroud to be, and I guess I'm going way back here, but your poster child for a guy who, was supposed to be good. Rick Mirer is always the guy I think of. Rick Mirer won the Rookie of the Year and then went on to do absolutely nothing the rest of his career. And it started pretty quickly his second year. I don't see that type of a collapse from C.J. Stroud. That being said, everything broke right for Houston last year. Are they going, on paper, that team's loaded. All right, the receiving core is what you want. The offensive line looks good. Stroud certainly had a great rookie year, and I'm not going to say regression's coming just because sometimes regression comes. It has that potential, but on paper, Houston looks pretty darn good. They deserve to be favorites in this division.
Can't wait to see how Stephon Diggs acts when he doesn't get enough balls because Tank Dell's getting looks all the time. Should be very fun. I'm looking forward to that division. And I know a lot of folks are looking, just give Kansas City the win, I guess, right? Kansas City wins the division in the West. Denver, Vegas has an interesting quarterback situation. The Chargers, is Herbert going to be healthy? How do you approach with what you know as of now, the win totals with these teams?
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs have been at the top of the standings from the get-go. 11.5 has been their win total, and that really hasn't changed. We haven't seen a whole lot of money come in pro or against Kansas City in that 11.5 range. It's been there from the opener. But when we talk about the rest of this division, look, nobody likes the Raiders again, and it didn't make a difference whether it was Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell at QB. Again, you're talking about a quarterback at the most, you're going to adjust a half point for Minshew winning that job at most. Let me say the Raiders had a positive point differential last year. I look at Vegas as being something of an undervalued commodity right now. There's a lot of negative sentiment towards Vegas after they closed out last season a little bit better than expected. And that, of course, leaves the question about what do we do with Denver and LA. Denver going with Bo Nix at QB. We've seen a little bit of over money for the Broncos. The line basically is a 5.5 win team. Nothing significant. The Chargers are interesting because we saw a lot of over money coming initially for the Chargers. Obviously, Harbaugh's a quarterback, coach, I should say. He was a quarterback. When he was a QB, you weren't betting him over necessarily, but not at the NFL level. But as a head coach, obviously, Harbaugh's had tremendous success. The Chargers dramatic underachievers last year based on point differential, based on all kinds of factors, one-score games, turnovers, et cetera, et cetera. The Chargers underachieved at 5-12 a year ago, lined at 8.5 this year. We have seen over money, but all that over money came early. Most of it came early. Herbert's back practicing now, and a little bit more came when we knew that Herbert was going to be ready for game one, but everyone knew that Herbert was going to be ready for game one. It wasn't a surprise. But the Chargers over is the one in this division, that we've seen at a real level. And again, they're still the same number, but there's a lot of juice now with LA to go over the total. They've been one fairly popular betting choice in that regard.
Yeah, no, they certainly are. Harbaugh is going to be a lot of fun to watch and how he does it this year. It always seems that people pay more attention to what Harbaugh says and not so much with what actually happens on the field with his teams. So it should be interesting. Nobody plays the game with the media better than Harbaugh. We've got AFC in the books. Teddy, we'll talk the NFC win totals here in a second, but now would be a good time to remind folks it is customer appreciation today on Monday. So if you're watching it today, $5 best bets available over at Teddy's page at WagerTalk.com. He's got a best bet in the NFL coming up, so you can go grab that right now for $5. Those of you that may catch this on the replay a little bit later in the week, there's a great opportunity coming up for buy 2 weeks, get one free. That's going to start tomorrow, that being Tuesday this week, the 27th. I would highly encourage you to hop on board and take advantage of that over at Teddy's page, WT.buzz/TC. All right, Teddy, the NFC, different animal of sorts. We'll start in the East. Everyone loves Danny Dimes. I'm kidding. We got Dallas, of course, Philadelphia, and Washington. Dan's already whispering my ear, just go over with Philadelphia. So what do we do with the win totals here, Teddy, when it comes to the NFC East this season?
So the markets have come in pretty heavily against Dallas. There's been a lot of anti-Dallas money. They opened 10.5 over the summer. Now, more 9.5s than 10.5s out there. Moved to 10, and now there's 9.5 is juiced to the over. But Dallas has taken pretty steady under money from the get-go this offseason, which leads, and then we look at you talk about the Giants. Giants aren't a popular team in the markets. Washington's starting a rookie QB. They're not a popular team in the market. So if Dallas is getting bet against and no one expects the two bottom feeders in this division, and I'll talk about Washington in a minute as a bottom feeder that has some upside, but no one expects the bottom feeder in this division to do anything. Obviously, Philly's going to get attention, and they have gotten attention. And Philly, obviously, with their collapse down the stretch last year, the markets remember they're 10-1, more than their 1-5 to close out the campaign. So the Eagles to win the division have taken money. The Eagles over their win total have taken money, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not crazy. It's not like there's all this Philly money that keeps rolling in. There's some initial Philly money, and that's been that. Washington, to me, is an interesting team. All right, you have a rookie QB. You have a franchise that's been at bottom feeder level for many years, and they have new owner and a new coach. And we saw rookie QB in Stroud make some noise last year. Not the first quarterback taken last year, by the way, the second QB taken. Washington, to me, of all the teams in this division, they've got the upside. And if you're looking for a long shot future, there's dumber bets to make, in my opinion. And the Commanders to win the NFC East, you find that 20-1, or the Flyer.
Seems like there's a new sheriff in town in that Dotson trade is very interesting to me. Seems like Dan Quinn not going to tolerate the same old from Washington here. So it is a new time and a new day for Washington this season. All right, the NFC East. How about the NFC North? Also, some high-powered teams in this one. A lot of folks seem to be very high on Caleb Williams this season. I don't happen to be one of them, Teddy, but are you a big fan of this division? Is this one of those divisions maybe everybody goes over to win total?
Has that potential? Look, no, I don't think everyone's going to go over the win total, but three of the teams might. But we talk about teams with three legit contenders. AFC East, AFC North, in theory, has four legit contenders. We'll see what Pittsburgh turns out to be. And then this division, the NFC North. Those are, in my power ratings, the three best divisions in football. AFC East, AFC North, NFC North, which isn't something we've said in recent years or recent decades. you know? So Detroit is a very popular public team. The wise guys haven't fallen in love with the Lions this year. The public has fallen. That doesn't mean Detroit's a bad bet. It just means the wise guys aren't betting them the way that the public is betting them right now. So there is some public love for Detroit, but from a broader marketplace standpoint, we haven't seen the money flowing in on the Lions with their season win total. The Bears have seen a lot of over money. Talking about one bet in this division that's come in. It's Chicago over their win total. And you talk about a team that looked very good. Look, the Bears looked great in August. I don't think there was a team that looked better in the preseason than Chicago. And when we think about teams poised to take that next step, all right, the Bears have already put the personnel in place to let a rookie QB succeed. Offensive line looks better on paper. Receiving core looks solid. Defense looks better than it's been, much better than it's been. On paper, Chicago's pretty good. And if their rookie QB can avoid the disastrous miscues that many rookie QBs have, there's plenty of upside for the Bears, and obviously lined as a 500 level team with a rookie quarterback. There are things to like about Chicago this year. There are things to like about Detroit this year. Green Bay was my single best bet in the my 5% big ticket. Green Bay over 7.5 wins last year in August. And I don't like playing a lot of overs with my best bets because more bad things can happen than good in terms of players getting hurt and all that. That being said, despite making me absolutely crazy for about half the year, the Packers did what they were supposed to do down the stretch. They kept on finding ways to lose games they were supposed to win. Jordan Love figured it out over the back half of the campaign. Green Bay was bet on all the way. And I wouldn't argue with the Packers. In my mind, they're being a little bit overlooked in this division. People expecting regression, and again, line 9.5 wins juice to the over. They're not truly being overlooked, but Detroit's getting a lot of hype, and Chicago's getting a lot of hype, and Green Bay's like, yeah, we're used to the Packers. I think there could be some value with Green Bay, especially early on. People don't believe what they did a year ago. And then there's Minnesota, who's really an interesting team to talk about because J.J. McCarthy gets hurt, out for the year, the rookie QB, and the betting markets basically go young. I thought we might see money come in against Minnesota, but the fact that Sam Darnold is now the QB and now the QB moving forward instead of the rookie, that really doesn't affect what Minnesota's trying to do. Now, there's a lot of question marks for the Vikings, and I would not be surprised. We've seen a little bit of under money come in, but not crazy. There's like 6.5 wins. There's 7s out there for the Vikings. They're clearly the weakest team in this division, and not a team that I'm looking to bet positively when it comes to the future markets, at least not yet.
I love the coaching staffs in this division, too. They each seem to fit the personality of their teams pretty well. But the big question, again, is going to be Chicago and whether or not any of that translates over with a rookie quarterback. But I do think it's a fascinating division as well, Teddy. And, we talk about 3 teams maybe going over, maybe 4 teams going over their win total in the North. Good God, the South. What are we supposed to do with this division? Atlanta, Carolina, Derek Carr just gives me hives thinking about it. And, of course, Tampa, who I don't know, would you consider Tampa was undervalued last year? Did they overperform? Is it repeatable? What do you think of this division?
Well, again, so from a betting market standpoint, there's no love for the Bucs. There was no love for the Bucs at any point last year. There's been no love for the Bucs this offseason whatsoever. We've seen more money coming against Tampa than on Tampa. Again, we're talking about a team that's won the division each of the last 4 years, and they're aligned at 7.5 wins. So the markets aren't looking at the Buccaneers and going, yeah, this team's primed. 7.5 wins for Tampa. So they can go 8-9, finish as a sub-500 team. They can still win the division in theory with that record, and they can still go over their win total. But Tampa, the markets, there's a lot of dislike. You talk about the coaching staffs that you like in the other divisions. A lot of dislike for Todd Bowles. And Dennis Allen's right there with him. New Orleans, the team. Dennis Allen's now the new favorite for the first head coach fired. The Saints lined 7.5 wins. And again, that hasn't really moved a whole lot. They've been 7.5 wins, and the juice hasn't really moved a whole lot for New Orleans. So we're not talking about a team that's seen significant money come one way or the other. Atlanta's been a popular team in the offseason, and the Falcons were an underachieving team last year. They had a lot of winnable games that they let get away. Certainly the quarterback play, whether it was Ritter or Heineke behind center, left a lot to be desired. In theory, the QB play is supposed to be a lot better this year, whether it's Kirk Cousins and his big contract, although we haven't seen whether Cousins is really healthy or not yet, or whether it's Penix as the rookie. In theory, you're never going to see Desmond Ritter again in an Atlanta uniform, I'll tell you that much. And Heineke, who had another bad preseason here, is not someone that they expect to get in any games. But nonetheless, Atlanta has been the popular choice in this division. Again, 9.5 for the Falcons, juice to the over. And we haven't seen under money. It's still 9.5 juice to the over. But are these totals moving? None of them have really moved. Carolina hasn't moved either. So the markets on this division have been pretty quiet this offseason, and that hasn't changed over the course of the last month.
Can't get any worse for Bryce Young, I guess. Shout out to the chat room, by the way, Teddy. Some fantastic observations, including from Mac Brown, who quotes, this is the ass division of the NFL. We completely agree with you there. Outstanding. The AFC North is a little bit rough, that South division in the NFC, but more than makes up for it with what we're going to get in the NFC West here, Teddy. Are we not? Arizona, a lot of people think will be much improved. The Rams are an interesting case, depending on how good that offensive line is, although they all seem to be banged up. And, of course, the 49ers and Seattle, a lot of expectations with these teams in the West. What do you think we're looking at here?
Well, we've seen money come against San Francisco. Over the course of the last week, really the last 3 or 4 days, there's been pretty heavy money against San Fran. Of course, the 49ers lined as the best team in football. So you can't be shocked and it's not, the markets, it's not unusual to see the many teams in the lower echelon get bet up and many teams in the upper echelon get bet down. Certainly when you talk about strength of schedule, San Fran's up against it. When you come about scheduling situations, the 49ers are up against it. When we talk about Super Bowl losers and the curse of the Super Bowl loser, 49ers have that as well. So we've seen money come against San Fran in the season win total betting marketplace. Money's come on Seattle, money's come on Arizona, and not crazy money. A little bit of Cardinals money. They've been a modestly popular choice. Obviously, a team that was pretty bad last year. 6.5 heavy juice now, 7s and 7.5s out there with Arizona. If you bet them over the summer, you got a 6.5 at a reasonable number with the Cardinals. So we have seen over money for ARZ over the course of the last month or two, for sure. A little bit of over money for the Seahawks as well. Nothing crazy. Again, team is lined as a sub 500 squad in many places, but 7.5 juice to the over now for the Seahawks, a team that, again, I'm not talking about big moves, but 10, 20 cents to the Seahawks over the course of the last month. The Rams are a really interesting story. Basically lined as a 500 level team for this year, 8.5 juice to the over, which when you factor the juice in, it makes them more like a 9-win team. And they've been 8.5 juice to the over. Does Stafford stay healthy? How much does Aaron Donald's loss affect this defense? In my mind, LA's a team with more question marks than I'm comfortable with for a team betting to bet over the total. But they're more talented than a team I want to bet under the total. LA for me is a clear pass and lined at 8.5 wins. They're lined as a team that's right there in the middle. Again, a little bit of juice to the over for the Rams, but nothing crazy for LA. But when it comes to win totals in this division, seen a little bit of Arizona over money. We've seen certainly San Fran under money, and that San Fran under money has come recently. That's not something from 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks ago. That's come a lot of it in the last 2 or 3 days.
Interesting that the 49ers were not getting a whole lot of love early on here, and it's kind of stayed steady, Teddy, with the non-lack of thinking this is going to be another one of these years that they just fly over the win total and they win 12 games and they just roll right into the NFC Championship game. I mean, it is one of the more experienced teams, correct, in the West?
Sure. So there's thoughts that Ayuk is going to get traded. All right. Which,
Right.
in theory, if you're going to bet San Fran under, you want to do it before Ayuk gets traded, not after, in theory. And the markets are making the move before. There are certainly issues with the team that the Super Bowl loser curse. We saw last time San Fran went to the Super Bowl and lost. There's something to be said for that. And certainly from a regular season standpoint, the team doesn't care about the regular season. Yeah. It's all about the postseason. They're, in Kansas City's mode in that sense. And it's just, okay, let's get to the playoffs and then let's see what we can do for San Fran. And from a salary cap standpoint, the 49ers have adjusted. They've got more talent on that team than any team in football. All right, they really have. When you're grading out personnel, players only for the 49ers, they deserve to be the team that's ranked and power rated number one in the league. But it's also a top-heavy roster. Injury depth may not be the 49ers' strength this season. So if you see some injuries to their top-level players, well, guess what? Then San Fran, which we really didn't see a year ago. They were a healthy team a year ago.
Right.
If the injury bug strikes San Francisco, they're not a team that's particularly well set up to handle that, given all the high-level money they're paying to their high-level talent. So, but the 49ers, it hasn't been steady. Like since this past weekend, we've seen a noticeable move on San Fran under. So there's certainly an element in the betting marketplace that has seen this team in August and said, yeah, let's fade them. And it's definitely worth noting, from a strength of schedule standpoint, San Fran's up against it. And from a how the schedule lays out standpoint, San Fran is up against it. When it comes to bad scheduling spots, teams playing on short rest or teams playing against teams with greater rest, the 49ers, as bad as it gets in the NFL in terms of scheduling spots this season. And that, I think, is part of the reason why we've seen so much money come against San Fran of late.
So we got questions in the chat room, by the way, if you're joining us live here on this Monday in the opening line report. Again, talking some win totals here today. Don't forget, it is $5 Customer Appreciation Monday. So if you are checking it out here today, you can head over to Teddy's page for $5. I don't want to put up two hands like that. Might confuse people. $5. Over at his page, you can go grab that best bet he has in the NFL. And more importantly, Eric D in the house, Chris B is here, Ray is here, Have, Playmaker here, Titan CT. Always a pleasure to see you guys. If you have any questions for Teddy, go ahead, drop them in there. Teddy, let me ask you, of the rookie class quarterbacks this season, and I believe we've gotten three that we know for a fact. Bo Nix is going to start with Peyton. We know Caleb Williams, of course, Jaden Daniels here. Which one are you highest on, or do you think it's all just wait and see with these young quarterbacks here this season?
Yeah, I don't want to. So I'm high on Jaden Daniels. Okay, what we've seen from him in August, what the quotes we're getting out of the coaching staff and the players in Washington. Washington, to me, has sneaky potential. All right, This is a team that's been a bottom feeder forever. And now, can Daniels be this year's C.J. Stroud? That's way too much to put on the kid. All right.
Right.
But does that potential exist? Yeah, it exists. So Washington's a team I've got my eye on Washington. And let's not forget Stroud week 1 last year. Houston, blowout loss. All right. No signs of what we saw later in the season. I think I scored 9 points in that ballgame and lost by more than 2 touchdowns. So even if Washington stinks week 1, that doesn't mean that Daniels won't be the bet on QB. Bo Nix is interesting for Denver. Certainly, when you talk about what most coaches are looking for the top prospect. And when you get to the 5th or 6th guy in the first round, you're like, yeah, maybe not so much. But Bo Nix has something specifically that Sean Payton was looking for. And that's the experience factor in college, where he's 24? He had 5? It felt like it was a college starter for like 5-6 seasons. Yeah. So he's probably more NFL ready than your QB that comes in off of one big year, that put it all together. So in theory, that could be a positive sign for Sean Payton and company. But then again, when's the last time Sean Payton had a season where any of his teams overachieved? It's been a while, and it was a while before he got fired or left in New Orleans down the stretch of his tenure there. It wasn't like the Saints were overachieving either. So I got very mixed feelings on Bo Nix. Caleb Williams might be really good.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly, again, when you watched him in the preseason, he has a big arm. He's going to make plays with his feet. He can go through his reads. There's a lot of things that we like on paper with Caleb Williams. The question is, how many mistakes does he make early on? I mean, with all these QBs, with a rookie QB, It's not so much what their upside's going to be. We know that every one of them is capable of making a game-changing play and winning a game in the fourth quarter because we've seen it in college. The question is, how many screw-ups do they make? How many times you're like, oh, no, don't throw that. Oh, what? And the better rookie QBs are the ones that make fewer of those. C.J. Stroud last year made very few of those. And that's what certainly had an enormous impact on his brilliant rookie season.
There was a question, Teddy, I saw earlier. Browns fans are hoping and praying, I guess, that this is the year of Deshaun Watson. I'm trying to figure, does this team, everything depend on how Deshaun Watson plays? I mean, Chubb is back, Cooper, Judy. If he shows, does he have it left in him? I don't know what the hell to do with Deshaun Watson. I really don't. Can he stay healthy? And are we going to get any glimpse of what he was in Houston? Or is that ship sailed, Teddy, in your mind with this team?
So I'm with you in terms of I don't know. I don't know.
I really don't.
I've seen nothing from Deshaun Watson since he got hurt in Houston, since before all this stuff happened with the masseuses and all of that.
Yep.
Nothing that says he's the same quarterback now that he was. All right. That said, and really when we look at this receiving core, it's not like they're a boatload of playmakers. Yeah, you got Chubb. You got Chubb coming off an ACL. You have an offense. I'm all over the map with the Browns. I'll tell you this. I'm not playing Cleveland week 1. All right. Not on them, not against them. They are, for me, very much, we talk about how to approach the NFL conceptually. Coming into the season, there's going to be a handful of teams I've got opinions on, bet on, bet against. I'm looking to bet those opinions early on. There's a handful of Cleveland teams that I have no idea what to do with right off the bat. Cleveland, at or near the top of the list there. I don't know what to do with the Browns. So unless they're playing a team I want to bet on or bet against week 1, I'm not going to play them.
Yeah.
And if they were playing a team that I did want to bet on or bet against strongly, I might consider it. But that's not the case. So I'm going to pass on the Browns week 1. I know that already, and then we're going to take a wait and see approach to Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. It's a team that, again, the upside for Cleveland's pretty high. All right. Watson's A game, the offensive line at their best, a defense that was real good last year that can wreak some havoc. The upside for this team is playoffs / Super Bowl. The downside is, they're looking for a new quarterback next year at this time. I mean, there's when you have a team, I would not be shocked if they go 5-12. I would not be shocked if they go 12-5. When you have a team like that, like right out of the gate, you pass. You say, all right, let's learn a little bit. And if they start out really hot, maybe you say, all right, tap the brakes a little bit. They started really cold. You say, tap the brakes a little bit. Cleveland, to me, is going to be a wait-and-see team. I'll tell you that flat out. I don't know what to do with the Browns going into week 1. And I'm not going to force an opinion out of them. I don't need opinions on all 32 teams. At no point during the season am I going to have opinions on all 32 teams. I want a good, solid, if I can get half a dozen solid bet on, bet against opinions coming out of the gate, I'm thrilled. That's all I'm looking for.
Browns ain't one of them, though. I got to see it to believe it. So, I need to see it because I'm with you, Teddy. Could they win 12 games? Absolutely, they could win. If he shows up and finds it again, but not until I see it. Hell no, do I want to have any liability on the Browns heading into it. I'll say the same thing about my Jets, Teddy. Are you confident in what Aaron Rodgers is going to bring to the table early on in the season? I don't want anything to do with the Jets early either here. Do you believe all will be well here coming off the ACL or Achilles rather at 40 years old? I have no idea.
It's Aaron Rodgers. Just relax, bro.
Oh, for Christ's
RELAX.
sake. No, it's the Jets. So know something's going to go horribly wrong here, so rather quickly.
No, but it doesn't have to be rather quickly. It could easily be December, January, It doesn't have to be right away.
That's a good point.
But I mean, look, you have a lot of cursed franchises with pretty good teams this year. All right. The Lions have a really good team this year. All right. The Dolphins have a really good team this year. The Jets, on paper, the Jets are Super Bowl caliber.
Well,
okay. Make no mistake about it. On paper, there's not a weak unit on that team. Every move they made this offseason was win this year. All right. They're playing a bottom feeder schedule because of last year's debacle. There are there are dumber bets to make than Aaron Rodgers to win MVP, Aaron Rodgers to win comeback player of the year, Jets over their win total, Jets to win the division, Jets to win the conference. There's dumber bets to make than that. It's reasonable to think that the Jets will be very much in the mix. Does that start week 1? Can Rodgers last? Again, in theory, 2 bookend tackles, a vastly improved offensive line, the ability to get the ball out quickly. In theory, Rodgers and the Jets, should be able to live up to the hype. And I'm coming into the season with a thought process. The wise guys don't trust the Jets. There may be value on the Jets. There may be. I'm not laying with San Fran week 1. I'll tell you that right now. If you see a play for me on Monday Night Football, it ain't going to be laying the points. It'll be taking them.
Nope. Yeah, and I believe there was a story that broke a little earlier about their left tackle as well. Teddy might be holding out into when the season starts because he wants more. Everything that could go wrong. It feels like the distractions in San Francisco are absolutely crazy when you think about it. There is a question. I believe Ray wants to know if you were Tomlin, who are you picking to start the season? It seems like the logical thing, if all things being equal, let Russell Wilson start. You're going to be bringing Fields in at some point anyway, or do you think, screw it, just start Fields and let's see where the chips fall?
So if it's me, I start Justin Fields, but I don't trade for Russell Wilson. I don't want any part of Russell Wilson. Right. All right. Russell Wilson has looked like a quarterback who's at the end of his career. He looked his last season in Seattle. He looked that way. That's why the Seahawks gave up on him. He looked like a quarterback at the tail end of his career in Denver last year. That's why the Broncos are playing, $40 million for the Steelers to get to pay him this year, to play him this year. I don't think Russell Wilson is anywhere near the quarterback that he was when he was playing at a Pro Bowl level when he was taking Seattle to Super Bowls. So I think Justin Fields is the upside QB of the two. That being said, from a team leadership standpoint or inside the locker room personnel standpoint, I don't know if it hurts them if they start Fields first or whether they let Wilson lose a game or two before they go there. I can't answer that. But Tomlin's got enough control of that locker room that what he says goes. I think Justin Fields is the better option. And part of that is because Justin Fields at this stage of his career is a far more mobile QB than Russell Wilson. And the ability to scramble out of pressure in the modern NFL, it's such a difference maker. And the quarterbacks who can't move in the pocket or can't move as well in the pocket, I think there's a real disadvantage for those QBs. And at this stage, again, Russell Wilson is not a guy who's making a lot of plays with his legs.
No, and that'll probably be, I don't think, and it appears that Russell Wilson's at the point also in his career, Terry, where he is happy to be the mentor. He's just happy to be, I don't think he's going to be a cancer in that locker room. That would not, you're right.
The other thing Russell Wilson's very happy to do at this stage of his career is dump the ball off to the backs. Just
Amen.
He'll hold it and he'll dump it off. He'll hold it too long. And then everyone's talking about Justin Fields holding the ball too long. If you watch Russell Wilson this preseason, it wasn't just a Justin Fields problem. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And nobody does dink and dunk like Arthur Smith. So this should be a fun, electric offense in Pittsburgh again there. All right, Ray, so you are good to go there. We got some comments here about the Jets defense being legit. Absolutely. Even though they traded for a guy that Apparently, they had no idea they were supposed to re-sign to a new contract, so he's not there. Brilliant stuff, Joe Douglas. Really, really good stuff. But one of the questions also, Teddy, I saw was, who is the most underrated or overlooked team heading into the season? Is there one? I think you mentioned from a season wins perspective, there might have been one or two teams you thought maybe nobody was paying attention to, but you think there's one team that maybe a little bit better than everyone's giving them credit to be?
So I played one over with my season win report. It's that team. That said, I did not put the Washington Commanders on that. Everything else is under with my win report. I did not put Washington.
Really?
Why the Commanders are not on my win report. I think there is upside for Washington, more upside for Washington than I've seen in any recent season. And one thing I like about Washington is I haven't heard anyone else I'm not hearing anyone else talking about them. They're not a team that you turn on the radio and hear this guy or that talking head. There's no buzz around Washington. And that's a good thing from a betting standpoint, certainly early in the campaign. And they don't have to be good. If Washington's mediocre, you might make money with them.
And that's ultimately what it's all about. All right, one more here, Teddy, because you did mention it earlier that New England's intriguing. In that situation, do you start Brissett or do you start Maye? It's obviously a rebuilding situation in New England. Are you throwing Maye out? Unless, of course, you don't think he's ready, at which point just put Brissett out there until you do think he's ready. But all indicators are they think he's ready to make this jump. Do you start Maye? And how is New England maybe spoiler maker at some point, a couple of points this year?
So if you watch the two quarterbacks play in August, you can't put Kobe Brissett out there, even in week one.
Oh, God, no.
You can't. Brissett looked very, very rough this preseason. And it's a New England offense that, let's be honest, Joe. And let's split screen this for a second. Do the Patriots have a single playmaker? I watched New England. I watched all three preseason games, and I didn't see anyone on any level on offense that Patriots are like, this guy can give me a quick strike touchdown. This guy can give me a big play touchdown. So their offense, Maye's the bigger arm. Maye's the guy who's going to take downfield shots. So they need to create. Maye's the guy who I think is more capable of creating than Brissett. So I would start Maye week one.
I agree. 100%. You got nothing to lose, unless you don't think he's ready.
Well,
that's the only reason.
What I ask you is this. It doesn't matter if he's ready or not. The Patriots aren't going anywhere this year. They're the last place. In a best case scenario, New England is the last place team in that division. All right. Maybe the third. If the Bills fall apart or the Jets fall apart or the Dolphins fall apart, maybe they can get up to third. But this isn't a playoff team. They know it's not a playoff team. Coming into the season, not a playoff team. So if it's not a playoff team, you get your rookie quarterback reps. You don't start, you don't put in Jacoby Brissett. But what I want to ask you, is there anyone on New England that you're going to try to game plan against? Is there one player from the Patriots that you're scared of? Because I haven't seen anybody. It's like,
You're going to stack the box. You're going to stop the running back, and that's it. That's it. The defense is going to have to create, like they did, as a matter of fact, I think it was. They're going to have to create the offense for him in a lot of situations. They're going to have to win field position. I just don't know about Jared Mayo either as a coach. I don't know if this is a good thing, a bad thing. A lot of question marks around the New England Patriots. Not a lot of question marks, however, Teddy, about your NFL bet that you have locked and loaded your page for $5 today, Customer Appreciation Day. You can go pick that up at Teddy's page right now across WagerTalk.com. In fact, $5 best bets as a way of us just saying thank you guys for being a part of the Wager Talk TV family. And of course, if you're watching this on the replay a little bit later in this week here, beginning, in fact, on Tuesday, great opportunity to partner up with Teddy and others, get 2 weeks or get 1 week after buying 2 weeks. So you get 2 weeks, you get 1 week free, 3 weeks heading into the NFL season, college football, postseason baseball, you name it. This is a fantastic time of year. Take advantage of the promos and opportunities, but certainly take advantage of the $5 that you can go to Teddy's page right now and grab that NFL play here. So good stuff. And we are now I can't believe it, Teddy. Less than, 2 weeks away from the opening kickoff of the NFL season. But we do have Bet on It's opening episode coming up as well. So looking forward to hanging out with you there, guys. If you haven't done so, by the way, give us that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We'd certainly appreciate it. We got a lot more still to come on the NFL season. It's just getting ready. Week 1 is now upon us here. College football, we'll have much more on that. And another episode of this show right here. We'll be back. Opening line report next Monday. Teddy, what are you guys going to be breaking down here? Getting ready for week 1?
Yeah, Labor Day, we're going to break down all 16 week 1 games, talk about where the money's flowing, where it's likely to continue flowing, and obviously it'll be your traditional NFL opening line report, something we've been doing at WagerTalk for years, something that I've been doing dating back to my sports memo days. I think I started doing opening line reports in like the aughts. So
6 months
been,
ago.
Close, I think 20 years or so that we've been putting these opening line reports together. So I take it seriously, man. I love doing the opening line report. It's meaningful to me because I'm trying to accurately predict where numbers are going to move. And it's an important skill, and it's important to help people when it comes to when do I bet this? Do I bet this now or do I wait? So we'll talk about that next Monday with all 16 games. Should be a lot of fun. Whether it's you or Drew, I like doing it either way. We appreciate the likes so very much. We appreciate the follows. More than 165,000 of you follow the WagerTalk, the YouTube channel. And, of course, we appreciate the comments below. I'll get into that. I didn't do a good job last week. I apologize. I'll get into the comments this week for sure and answer your guys' questions and reply to your thoughts. So thanks for joining us. Best of luck.
Yes.
Back to you.
Yes. Get her done, Teddy. And by the way, I saw the comment earlier. Drop us in the comments if you guys are interested at all in learning a little bit more about, and this comes up every year, Teddy, the power ratings and how you put it together. I saw a couple of questions early. If that's something you guys are interested in, drop it in the comment section, and Teddy will absolutely answer those questions, maybe put a video together for you guys. So anybody interested in creating their own power ratings this season, Teddy's got you covered. There is nobody better than that. So drop it in the chat here, and we'll see if we can put that together for you. But either way, that's why you hit the damn bell in the upper right-hand corner. You get notified when we do these shows. And on behalf of Teddy, we appreciate the time, guys. As always, football is back. So are we, and we're glad to have you here. So make sure you come back and join us again next week for another opening line report. Until then, cash those tickets. We'll see you again soon.